We'd like to welcome you to another edition of GrokTALK, brought to you by Grok.com, New Hampshire's conservative website. We are your feared, extremist, right-wing, hard-charging, gun-toting, opinionated, outspoken, rabble-rousing, letter-writing, radio microphone-stomping conservatives and rational libertarians. So get ready for 2 hours of news and opinion you could only get from Grok.com. GrokTALk. Welcome to this week's edition of GrokTALK. It is Saturday, May 24th, 2014, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are part of your new media militia and brought to you by the Coalition of New Hampshire Taxpayers and Grok.com.
The New Hampshire's leading conservative libertarian blog site.
And you can call us anytime. We may or may not answer, but you can call at 603-715-9689. This week's guest is me. This week our guests are one of New Hampshire's finest grassroots activists who's running in the New Hampshire House. Michelle Lavelle will be with us at 9:30. 10 o'clock, Dr. Joe DeLeo, now a doctor, Joe DeLeo, joins us to discuss his response. A group of scientists have a response to the Obama administration's 2012 climate assessment. And he will be on at 10 o'clock to talk us through that. I have a copy of it over here that we can take a look at. And then Jeff Chittister will be on at 10:30 to talk about everything and anything we may talk about, because it's Jeff and it's us, and that's how that works.
Yes, now what was that call-in number again?
603-715-9689. GrokTALK is brought to you by CNHT and Grok.com. Live stream Saturday mornings from 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on GrokTALK.com, GrokTALK.com, and Ustream.tv, where you can also see past podcasts and all kinds of good stuff there. We want you to check it out. The podcast is posted after the live stream on Grok.com and on acnation.com still. And you can also pick us up on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and Spreaker. Download, connect, get the app, whatever you need, and take us anywhere you want, everywhere you want to go.
And what was that phone number once again?
603-715-9689.
Yes, call us and make Ed Larkin flash.
Make Ed Larkin flash. We'd also like to encourage you to check out Grok TV, which is basically the video that we post to Grok.com. This past week we posted news and information featuring, Mike just posted some stuff for gubernatorial candidate Walt Havenstein. We've also got some video of Admiral William McRaven. We have James O'Keefe's latest Sting video up. We have a ton of video on the Not Brown event. And we also have the latest from Prager University. So, always trying to find new and exciting ways to bring you news and information, sharing all kinds of stuff that we find entertaining.
Or amusing.
Or amusing. Or distracting. Or necessary. Or relevant.
This is true.
Or irrelevant. Oh, I can turn Mike on. He's here. Hi, Mike.
Well, hi, team.
Hi.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you just fine. I can hear you better.
Then I can run around with my cell phone going beep, beep. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you better than I can hear myself. So,
likewise.
We had a couple of things happen locally. We had some national news, obviously. The VA scandal is a big thing. One thing I wanted to hit real quick before we move on is at a Democracy Alliance event, somebody left some literature, which the Washington Free Beacon got their hands on and then shared with the world. And it included lists of millionaire donors to Democracy Alliance, which is a far left progressive organization of very wealthy Democrats and progressives and liberals that directs money to groups. Now, the documentation had a list of all the groups in their network, and it had a list of what those groups do and why they support them. And this is an interesting piece of paper, because one of the cool things about it is on this last page here, if you can see it in the video, it shows you if they advance progressive ideas, support progressive candidates, fight the right, build progressive legal capacity. You notice the word progressive occurs a lot in there? Yeah, and so we have all these groups that are now, some of them claiming to be nonpartisan, that are specifically identified as progressive in here. Now, some of these groups...
Let's really hold it up. They couldn't see it.
Well, we're going to scan this and post it, right?
It's already posted. I already linked to it.
Okay, great.
No, you got it. Here.
You hold it. All right, anyway, so that's an example, all right, of the thing. And then...
There's lots.
What I want to show you is, if you flip over here, I've started going through and highlighting the ones that either have a presence in New Hampshire or are involved with groups in New Hampshire or are funneling money to groups in New Hampshire. Now, you see the first page here? There's a lot of highlighting there. And there's another page, and I'm not done yet, but you see all these groups? There's a lot of these groups, and they're pushing a lot of money, and some of them are like 350.org, America Votes. Center for American Progress is always pushing news and stuff into the state. The Coalition to Stop Gun Violence, Common Cause, Democracy for America, Emily's List, Enroll America, Freedom to Marry, Get Equal, Green Corps, House Majority PAC, which is a super PAC, which pumps money into the state. They're running ads this week, I think.
That's Harry Reid's group, right?
The Human Rights Campaign, J Street, League of Conservation Voters, Main Street Alliance, Majority PAC, Mayors Against Illegal Guns. Main Street Alliance. I just told you that before the show.
Yeah, but for the people just tuning in, tell them who that is. That's a Republican
That's a
group.
Republican. Yeah, Charlie Bass was part of that.
He was chairman of that.
So anyway, they get money.
Main Street Alliance is closely aligned with things like Crossroads GPS, which are, again, Washington-funded insider progressive think tanks that nominally have a Republican label.
You really have to ask why a progressive organization funded by progressive millionaires and billionaires is pumping money into a Republican, so-called Republican group.
Because if it's got Charlie Bass or Karl Rove anywhere near it, it is a progressive organization.
NAACP, NARAL, Pro-Choice, National Gay and Lesbian Task Force, National Popular Vote, Next Gen Climate Action, Tom Steyer's PAC, Organizing for Action, which is, of course, OFA, Planned Parenthood, Priorities USA, Progressive States Networks, Progress Now, which is Granite State Progress, Project Vote, Rock the Vote, USA Action, which is the New Hampshire Citizens Alliance. They planted them there. There's a bunch of them. So, the next time your average run-of-the-mill Democrat, progressive, left-wing lobbyist type who gets paid full-time to run around and agitate for Democrat policies says something really ridiculous about out-of-state money, we have a really big list of people who are being funded by or working with people funded by very rich liberals, none of whom live here.
Shall we continue to illustrate how hypocritical Jeanne Shaheen, our senior senator, is?
Illustrate away.
Yes. She was trying to badger Scott Brown, and I find it rather difficult that I am trying to, or appear to be defending Scott Brown, as I said on my post, because usually James Pindell and Political Scoop at WMUR ask questions every week, and every single week that he does ask intelligent questions, I try to educate him. The news is significant that Tom Steyer's pro-environment group will aim to counter at all the Koch brother ads in the Senate race here, but he probably will not to parody. Well, this is the lady who wanted to turn the People's Pledge into reality here in New Hampshire after months and months and months of her friends pumping ads in already going after Scott Brown, and now she welcomes in all that outside money by an evil billionaire.
But it gets better. Tom Steyer is identified in many locations as the man who bought off Keystone. The reason Obama can't make a decision is because his eyes are like those cartoon characters with the eyes rotating at high speed with dollar signs in them. Anytime he tries to go anywhere near Keystone, Tom Steyer's waves a few more million at the Democrat Party, and Obama's hypnotized.
Yeah, so here we have the Democrats saying that they want to get all money out of these elections. On the other hand, they're saying $100 million from Steyer, $100 million from Steyer. Jean's basically saying, please, sir, may I have Samoa?
Shaheen is like a contraction of Jeanne Shaheen, that if you contract it far enough, it's like jihad against our rights?
No, that's our friend James O'Keefe, along with somebody close to you that was over in Cannes.
Ah, yes, and I've still got to post that picture. There's pictures from James O'Keefe's trip to Cannes, and there's a certain favorite English journalist of the New Hampshire right there with him. So I sent an internal note, and I will post it. Who's that in Cannes with Chris? Yes, folks, Chris Hennigan, that was at a lot of events in the 2010-2011 cycles, is living in England at the moment because the INS weren't that kind about letting him back in, even though he didn't outstay his visas. But
I'll just say it. Why don't you have him do what lots of people do? Go south, cross the Rio Grande, and then he'll get the billions and billions of dollars worth of health care that our veterans aren't getting.
Well, one of the scams he pulled along with James O'Keefe and Veritas was to put on a fake Mexican accent and scam the.
I can't imagine Chris. I can't imagine. Chris has a very heavy
English accent.
English accent. Sometimes I can't even understand him. It's so heavy.
They called the various social service lines looking for help because of his unfortunate circumstances, being forced to roll tacos or something.
It was his unfortunate circumstance that he was
in some kind of slave driving outfit.
That he was.
Anyway, they laid it on so thick. I can't believe that the social services guy on the other end of the phone wasn't laughing his socks off. But some of those phone calls were off the charts funny. So one time when he came back into the country, I actually met him at Boston Logan, and I was sitting there with a sombrero on. Actually, I was sitting there with two sombreros on, and when he arrived and couldn't find me, I took the second one off and handed it to him.
Sometimes you just can't make this stuff up.
You can't, but he always came in legally, and he
and get penalized.
And he met the immigration people in Philadelphia who are known not to be a nice bunch, and they decided he'd been here a little more than he'd been in the UK, even though he'd never actually outstayed a visa, and even though he'd never cost the US taxpayer a dime, that was considered to be offensive to them.
City of brotherly love.
You're absolutely right.
Well, I remember what I used to do with my brother. Not exactly love.
Yeah, tell him to fend for himself.
No, let's put it this way. A long time ago, my mom is now departed, so I can tell this. We used to wrestle and fight a lot upstairs in our bedroom, and one day I picked him up, threw him up over my head and down onto my bed, which absolutely went crack and fell to the floor. I had broken the wooden beams that held the mattress up, and we just looked at each other and went, how the heck are we going to fix this? It's all a splintered mess. Yeah, that was one I couldn't hide.
How'd you break that?
I threw Ricky on top of the bed. From where? Pretty much the ceiling.
By the way, speaking of Shaheen money, I discovered this site called MapLight, and MapLight actually tracks votes and donations that have relationship to each other.
Really?
Really, and so Gene Shaheen had 582 votes tracked on MapLight, and of those 582 votes, 421 of them connected to money. Well, I mean, they may or may not have. Within 30 days of the vote, there was money exchanged by somebody who either opposed something she voted no on, or who supported something she voted yes on.
So this is her votes, not
her
people
votes.
voting for her.
Just her vote, 73%. Now, of course, that wasn't too bad. Carol Shea Porter, they have all her votes from all her different terms, and she had 1,227 votes. 93% of those votes could be tied within 30 days of the vote to some kind of financial donation to her campaign. 93%.
Definitely play for pay.
Sure, it looks like it.
Wow. This is kind of cool. You're going to post some of this stuff up, right?
I am.
If this was Amsterdam, they'd be sitting in a window near a canal with a red light on.
Oh, man, she'd never make a dime doing that.
Yeah, well, the question is...
I didn't say they'd get rich by conventional means.
That's true.
Well, of course...
True.
I'm not going there, folks.
No, that's why I'm keeping my words careful.
Of course, the other question is, have you dared to look at Scott Brown's or Kelly Ayotte's?
I haven't yet, no, but I can.
Or Charlie Bass? Or Frank Into? Any of those Congress critters.
They all deserve it, but, my day's short, so I start with the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, 1,000 votes with money.
Yeah. Well, 1,134 votes tied to within 30 days of money. You can go farther out than 30 days. You can go shorter. It allows you to actually condense and expand your research.
The time window needs to be reasonably short. I mean, there are obviously organizations that fund candidates in the long term.
You would support a candidate who votes the way you want. I mean, that makes sense. It really does.
Yeah, I mean, I would support a candidate who hewed closely to the Constitution, cut spending, and generally did the right things.
But there's a difference. We give money before the votes. If we support a candidate, we give money during the campaign or ahead of their election. We don't give it right after a vote.
No.
There's a difference.
There is.
Exactly.
I rarely give money to candidates as it is.
That's true.
Because it's my money, and I need it.
Well, I think you can see where most of my money goes.
Yes, I do. I'm sitting in some of it, around some of it. Anyway, we're going to take 60 seconds, and then we'll be right back, and
Holy
maybe we'll
cow.
talk about Turkey, and we'll go on.
And John Cornyn.
And John Cornyn, and we can talk about Walt Havenstein,
Yeah.
and whatever you guys like. We'll be right back.
He tried to make us believe he was a fiscal conservative, but State Senator Jeb Bradley has been deceiving New Hampshire taxpayers. Like a wolf in sheep's clothing, he claimed to be one of us, pretending to blend in, but all along voting like a liberal Democrat. And oh, how he drooled at the opportunity to vote to expand Obamacare, which will result in higher taxes and longer wait times in the emergency room. And now, Senator Bradley is leading the charge to try and pass a Senate bill to prevent us from criticizing his vote. Call Senator Bradley at 603-569-4208 and tell him that we're on to his wolf in sheep's clothing routine. Tell him to stop pretending to be a fiscal conservative and start voting like one. Paid for by Citizens for a Strong New Hampshire.
GrokTALK.
Yeah, see, we just talk and come back in. I'm Steve McDonald here with Skip Murphy and Mike Rogers, and this is GrokTALK, brought to you by CNHT and GrantedGrok.com. Check us out on Stitcher, iTunes, all those other places.
iHeart,
TuneIn,
Ustream,
Spreaker,
YouTube,
Ustream, YouTube, yes,
GrantedGrok.com.
yes, all those places. And Michelle's here early, which is awesome because we like having guests early because then we can actually talk about things besides us just wandering around like we're in a field. Oh, look, let's talk about that.
Squirrels!
Good morning.
Good morning.
It
Good
is,
morning.
even
Welcome
though it's
to the program.
dreary outside, raining.
It's a long holiday weekend. I call that good.
It's always good. Yeah, it
Yes.
is.
Yes, shades of welcome to New Hampshire, now go home.
That's right.
Anyways, we're hearing that same thing, go home, from John Cornyn, senator in the U.S. House, in the U.S. Senate.
Senator in the U.S. House.
Yeah, now that a lot of the primaries are over, we're hearing the things from the grand poobahs of the GOP, and this is pretty much typical. Anyone who calls themselves conservative or Republican who doesn't vote for the nominee of the party in the general election is neither. Well, just from the construction of that sentence, I have a problem, because just because one is conservative does not necessarily mean that you are a Republican. I also don't like the idea that we have to march in lockstep. After all, most of these folks don't do what we do. We march to the principle, not to the cult of personality.
If, like Democrats, Republicans actually marched in lockstep to something, preferably the party platform, we might be inclined to march behind them. But they don't.
Yeah.
And then they expect us to march in lockstep to them.
Oh, yeah. And like I said, I've already done it to Kelly Ayotte, where I kind of dissected her speech from the NHGOP annual meeting. Almost every single one who spoke, it's that time of year. Everybody must be united. Everybody must work together. It's like, you know something?
I'm all for that. Get behind these policies and these principles, and we're
Bingo.
right there with you.
There you go.
That's it. I mean, we get...
But we're the extremists.
Yeah, we get beat on by everybody, but all we're really saying is, look, here's the principles. They're all in the platform.
Yeah.
Just follow those.
You would think...
And you won't hear us piss and moan about anything, really. I mean, you're going to have some votes we don't like, but for the most part, as long as you're following the principles and explaining yourself, what's the big deal? No, we can't do that. We have to chase money and power and influence. So yeah, we aren't interested in any of those things. Well, we need some money because we got to pay for all of this crap. But we're interested in the principles.
We're
and
cracking
that's
her up.
first. That's what we do. Our job is to make the guest laugh, and that's how we operate. And we're not here to climb ladders or make friends or become somebody's best buddy or sell somebody's narrative, unless it's the same narrative. It's the principle.
Yes. You have brought us, meaning us, upon yourselves.
That's right.
I mean, it's, if you want to shut us up, stop doing most of the stupid things that you do. If, as Steve just outlined, if the elected politicians and the grand poobahs decided, well, maybe these principles are a good thing other than just for talking points, you'd have us going after the Democrats worse than ever. And trust us, we like bringing out the knives. The problem is you give us too many opportunities.
Yeah, especially for the Democrats. The problem is that our own people disdain the base, and there's no other way to put it. They've declared war on us. They think they can win their primaries and maybe their general elections without too many conservatives. And I think actually more to the point, they think they can power through the primaries without any conservatives on board. And then, having driven the conservatives away, they just demand that we vote for the party's choice when it comes to the general. And that's too late. Jonah Goldberg, I think, had a wonderful piece on Jeb Bush not wooing the base. And he made the point that Reagan was of the base and he wooed the middle. That Bush and Romney and some of the others, whether they won or lost, made a big effort to woo the base and convince them that they were conservative enough. Jeb Bush is probably never going to have the chance to test that theory because he has very obviously unwooed the base with his comments on immigration and Common Core to the point where he has no base. He's got to go for the squishy middle, and there ain't enough of it.
Are you making fun of President Dole and President Romney?
You mean the welfare collector the tax collector for the welfare states, Mr. Dole? A fine man, a wonderful soldier, a decent senator, and unfortunately never found a tax he didn't like.
I was thinking, is there any way we can get
This is great.
Any way we can get Papa Smurf to say this?
I am altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
I just think that would be too good to...
Play that again. That was too good.
I am altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
The people?
I think somebody said that to Jack Kimball. Just back in the day.
Yeah.
Oh, you think you're the chairman,
I
huh?
am altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
So anyway,
this is great. We did it to Pam. Now we're doing it to Michelle. Pam Tucker. Yeah, she came in here, sat in that very seat, and we just cracked her up.
we've also got new theme music for the New Hampshire GOP.
Oh, the Bob! Bring the Bob!
So, moving along.
Don't programs with that kind of music usually end with, that's all, folks?
Yeah, pretty much.
And I'd love to say, that's all, folks, for the state GOP, and do without them.
Yes. Unfortunately, they don't understand that we are Republicans only because the platform says a good story. One that we can actually get behind. And there are a lot of people who are candidates and who are politicians that we do get behind and that we think are champions because they stay true to their principles, regardless of the stuff that gets thrown at them. I'm listening to some of the rumors that Bill O'Brien, is he in or is he out? Is he in or is he out? I will tell you right now, executive decision, Granite Grok will support Bill O'Brien if he decides that he wants to run for Speaker of the House again.
Hell, we'll support Bill O'Brien if he wants to run for anything, including governor or president.
Oh, now there's an idea.
I don't know. I think a state senator Bill O'Brien would be a pretty good thing.
Well, as much...
Sometimes people jump too far up, from like the New Hampshire House, which is like a bunch of chickens in a pen, right? Or cats. You go there all the time and you see the cats.
Be nice to the guests.
Well, it takes a lot of nerve to want to go hang out with the chickens, It really does, because they're like clucking all day long. And we probably have a sound effect for that. But to be able to stand in that mess.
And enough about the gal from Rhode Island.
And we talked about it earlier.
Cynthia Chase, once again.
And we and to get some kind of order and in the chaos, and to actually cut the budget, to make government a little smaller. That's an impressive feat.
And that is the reason why we have a problem with the Republican Party people versus the platform. Because here's a guy who actually did what the platform says. We believe in lower taxes. We believe in more individual freedom. We believe in empowering the individual. We believe in a more limited government. He did all that. Now, the Democrats especially the progressive Democrats went after him for all the predictable reasons. That's what they do. They can't believe that we can't survive without government holding our hand in every single nook and cranny of our lives. But here's a Republican who stood up and did exactly what the platform said, and the opprobrium from the Republican Party elite that said, you can't do that, we won't get elected again. Well, yeah, we did lose the House, but not for the reason of Bill O'Brien. It's that the rest of the elite didn't stand up and fight for him at the time. No. And, of course, you have to say, nobody saw the Obama data machine doing what it did on the turnout with
99,000 same day voters,
I mean,
20,000 of whom didn't have ID.
Yeah. So there are some externalities there that you can't go say, it's all Bill O'Brien's fault. You can't say that.
No, in
but
fact,
I
think you can say explicitly that it's not that, and that they lost the vote due to failure to motivate the base and the enthusiasm. Bill O'Brien didn't lose his seat.
Correct. But you look at, like you mentioned during the first segment, with former Congressman Steve Latourette with Main Street Republicans getting progressive money, Democrat money, far-left money in, and him publicly stating his goal was to eliminate all Tea Party candidates. Well, that's the most enthusiastic part of the Republican base still. Yep. But, the Democrats have gone after the Tea Party, have basically demonized them, so that a lot of the general population doesn't understand the Tea Party folks are just going back to constitutional values and say, this is what this country was built on, we just want to support it. And the Republican elite basically, in a lot of cases, saying the same thing, if not screaming it like the Democrats, at least muttering it under their breath. So why would we support Republicans? And that goes back to John Cornyn's
right. And John Cornyn is only a part-time conservative. He tries to paint himself as a Texas conservative, but he's only part-time. He was the man who wanted ex post facto legislation, a bill of attainder no less, to steal the bonuses from the bankers in early 2009. And he actually sent out a fundraising letter for that. And I kept it as reason for why I'm no longer donating to the National Rhino Support Committee.
And you would think...
Yes, I was watching our guest when I saw that coming.
You knew what I was going to say.
I knew you were going because I actually named one of our segments after that last week because we talked about the National Rhino Support Committee.
And I have to say, Michelle Lavelle is going, I can't believe these three guys. And guess what? There's more of us, too.
Oh, I know. I definitely know. I hang out with a bunch.
I got her to speak. And I was going to say, you are allowed to comment. But just remember this. We three are allowed to say things that most politicians on the right, even if they wanted to, can't say.
We must be coming up to a obscene profit timeout.
Obscene profit.
Where we do public service ads and remain as poor as ever.
Yes, we do. We play other people's ads that they pay other people to play for free because we like the principle espoused in the ad. And that's what we do.
Must be talking about AFP and Strong New Hampshire.
Stuff like that, yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, we support some local groups and some local shows and local programs.
Absolutely.
We want to, we have an opportunity here to get these people some viewers and listeners and readers. And we like to do that. That's what we're here for. I'm Steve McDonald here with Skip Murphy, Mike Rogers. Michelle Lavelle will be with us in the next segment where we promise she'll talk more. This is GrokTALK, brought to you by CNHT and Granite Grok Tom. Granite Grok. Well, you're back.
And we'll be asked.
This is the Coalition of New Hampshire Taxpayers. We're located at 8 North Main in Concord, New Hampshire. This is the repository for all things conservative and municipal. So if you have a problem in your town, your school, your budget committee, the right to know law, and now at the top of our list is voter fraud. You have a tip for us, some information for us, you want to join or help us out, cnht.org.
Senator Jeanne Shaheen said, if you like your current health plan, you can keep it. That's not true, Senator. 22,000 New Hampshire citizens have been kicked off their insurance plans. Hospitals in Rochester, Concord, and Portsmouth, they aren't allowed to provide care under the exchange. Senator, you were wrong in your comments. You should apologize for your misleading remarks. I'm calling Senator Shaheen at 750-3004 and telling her I want my doctor back. You should too.
Paid for by saberpac.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidate committee.
When asked whether she still supports Obamacare, Senator Jeanne Shaheen said,
yes, I do continue to support the law. We're beginning to see some positive results.
How can Senator Shaheen say we're seeing positive results when 22,000 of our neighbors have already lost their health insurance? What's worse, the Boston Globe reports the state's only health insurance provider radically reduced the number of hospitals in their network, forcing some people to drive over an hour for lab work, even when there's a hospital within a few miles of their home. When pressed about lack of access, Shaheen said,
There are some hospitals that are not covered, unfortunately, and I certainly hope that's going to change.
Jean Shaheen promised us we could keep our doctors and our healthcare coverage. Now she hopes we can get to a local hospital? Call Senator Shaheen at 603-647-7500. Tell her we need more than hope. We need leadership. Paid for by Citizens for a Strong New Hampshire.
GrokTV.